We're now a month or so into our winter retreat and plugging along with with our theme of Satipatthana. And last evening, I was doing the reading and moving on, at least in my mind, from the contemplation of the body, which we've been spending a fair amount of time with in the past month, to the second frame of reference, second Satipatthana, of contemplation of feeling, Vedana, Nupassana. And just sort of giving an introduction of that last night and doing some readings from the suttas as well as from Ajahn Panyawado. And it kind of opens up the section of contemplation, the next several sections that move into more of contemplation of various aspects of the mind. There's a corresponding, the Anapanasati Sutta has a semblance of correspondence with the Satipatthana in that there's 4 sections in both of them. The 4 tetrads in the Anapanasati Sutta roughly comparing with or coordinating with the 4 establishings of mindfulness in Satipatthana. And we moved a bit into the second set of both of them, the feeling, the Vedana section in Satipatthana, and what's moving more in towards the feeling and also experiencing the citta sankhara in the Anapanasati Sutta. And citta sankhara, roughly translated as mental formations, is another way of categorizing our experience, and it's moving into the realms of the mind, the nama aspect of nama rupa, mind and body, and is often defined, citta sankhara, mental formations, often defined as both perceptions and feelings, sanya and vedana. So last night we delved into that first one of Vedana as one of the citta sankhara, one of the mental formations. And I thought I'd maybe explore a little bit of the second one, sanya, perceptions, as we move into further Satipatthana contemplations. And it doesn't come up specifically in its own category like Vedana does, be found in contemplation of the 5 khandhas, which is one of the contemplations found in the 4th Satipatthana, Dhamma Nupassana. But a very significant and very potent place to explore our experience, because perceptions are what we get caught up in a whole lot of the time and create a lot of kamma for ourselves, often negative kamma, dukkha, suffering, comes as a result of how we live in and through this world of perception, how we react to it, how we move with it, how we compound our experiences within the realm of perception. So citta sankhara, perceptions, feelings. And the Buddha often talks about them also in relation to another sankhara, vaci sankhara, the verbal formation, the precursor to speech, in a sense, which is the realm of thinking. Thinking is usually where something that's related to the speech world starts and often continues and often ends in the mind. The vaci sankhara, the verbal formation, thinking. Vitakka is also sometimes used to describe or to define vaci sankhara, vitakka, thought. So these 3 aspects of sankhara, the sankhara process, citta sankhara, vaci sankhara, are often mentioned together in one of the definitions of clear comprehension, sampajanya, the Buddha is asked in one teaching. The Buddha is asked by someone, "What is clear comprehension? What is sampajanya?" And he says, "Clear awareness or clear comprehension is that it happens when a feeling arises." Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, one knows a feeling. Sorry, one knows a feeling as it arises, as it persists, and as it passes away. One knows a perception as it arises, as it persists, and as it passes away. One knows a thought as it arises, as it persists, and as it passes away. This is clear comprehension. And in another sutta, the Buddha uses that formula to describe one of the wonderful and marvelous qualities of the Buddha. The monks are sitting around talking about all the wonderful and marvelous qualities of the Buddha and expounding on his virtuous qualities and the amazing miracles that he presents, and all these wonderful and marvelous qualities. And the Buddha hears the report of this and says, "Yeah, that's all true." And the Buddha also knows when a perception arises, persists, and passes away, when a feeling arises, persists, passes away, and when a thought arises, persists, and passes away. This is another wonderful and marvelous quality of the Buddha. In other words, this ability to be clearly comprehending, and in his case, all the time. So most of the time, we're experiencing these perceptions and feelings and thoughts, but we aren't really very clearly comprehending of them. We're lost in them. We get confused by them or overwhelmed by them and act on them in ways that continue us being lodged in the realm of suffering. The way that it works is described, particularly in the realm of complication. It's described in a sutta called the Honeyball Sutta, which is a great teaching if you want to take a further look at it. It's in the Majjhima Nikaya. And it's this description of how the process of getting entangled with perceptions unravels, or how it happens, and how we get lost in the realm of perceptions that then turn into proliferations, compounding dukkha. And it starts with the moment of contact and experience. We have some sort of sensory experience in the realms of sight, sounds, tastes, etc., the sense realm, and particularly the mental realm. Some sort of memory might arise, or some sort of interaction we have with somebody might trigger a pattern. And at first, there's just the raw data that comes in, but soon we move into the realm of feeling and perception. So this experience that we have, this encounter we have with somebody, or even just seeing somebody and recognizing them, who they are, or having a memory of an interaction pops up in our minds, and immediately the process of feeling and perception start to occur. We have usually either pleasant or an unpleasant feeling, sometimes a neutral feeling with that person. And based on that memory of that feeling, with that feeling, we start to concretize the whole experience. Perception is important because it gives it some meaning. It gives meaning. It's not just raw data entering into the sense experience, but it gives us a sense of meaning. What does this experience actually mean? And it's based on our past experience. So if we've had recently, or even decades ago, a bad interaction, say with this person that we're perceiving, or this person that we're seeing, then this whole realm of perception, negative experience, unpleasant feeling starts to arise based on this memory, based on this perception from past experience. And as soon as, if we don't see that clearly as it's starting to arise, then we start to think about it. This is what the next stage is after the perception starts to gel a little bit and the memory starts to solidify, then we add a thought to it, a verbal formation, some sort of opinion or just some sort of label, I guess you could say, some sort of label as to that person or the feeling that we're having, and the thought process starts to happen. And if the defilements are strong and just lurking in the background, say it was an unpleasant experience, then the defilement of irritation or aversion is activated. It's kind of lying there dormant, and it's activated. And then we start the proliferative process. We start to have further memories and opinions and ideas and justifications, and the story starts to unravel, or the story starts to wind up. We go into the whole memory of this interaction and what this person is like and who they are and why they did this and why they shouldn't have done that. And pretty soon we're involved in what is called the world of papancha, mental proliferation, complication, and objectification. We start to really have this overwhelming sense of me and them, and the separation between the two, the subject, the object, all of that starts to solidify with this sense of self and other. And pretty soon it's off and running, and we're kind of the hapless victim of this process that's happening because we haven't caught it, we haven't seen it, and we've let our emotional state, our afflictive emotion, latch onto it and proliferate with it and increase it and give it lots of sustenance, lots of nourishment for its continuation, for its increase, and it just keeps on in a positive, vicious cycle. And we keep on experiencing those same perceptual patterns again in relation, say, to this person or this event. And there you go, launched into dukkha. It's not just with negative experiences like that, too. It's with very sensually alluring things. We see what we want to see. The attractive nature of something that increases our desire, our sensual desire, and we attach onto that, we latch onto that perception, we think about it, we consider it, we move into it, and it activates this sense of craving to get, rather than to get rid of, as in the first case, is to go ahead and acquire and get something that will give us more pleasure, to increase that pleasurable experience. And pretty soon that develops into its own papancha as well. The activation has started in that direction. And then again, we're often overwhelmed by that. We just move into the overwhelm of that all. Part of that process I've been reflecting on quite a bit recently. A word or a term from the realm of psychology called confirmation bias. And I've been looking at my own experience and when thoughts, memories come up or interaction with certain people, how easy it is to have this perceptual process start to kick in about who they are, or an experience that I've had colors my perception and starts to fix that perception, fix that being in my mind in a certain way, so that whenever there's some sort of interaction, even if it's a varied kind of interaction with multiple aspects to it, if I have a certain perception of somebody that is based on a negative experience from some time ago, then it's so easy to watch that process happen where we look for what it is to confirm our opinion of who they are or of their qualities, that particularly if it's a negative quality. It's so easy to have that memory of an interaction and just immediately crystallize that person into someone who's always that way. Oh, there they go again. And we can oftentimes ignore completely many other aspects of their personality or their own experience, and just selectively attend to the ones that support our past experience with them. So that it's what as I said, it's confirmation bias is what that can be called. And how we just do that all the time. And again, with good qualities as well, or pleasant qualities based on the feeling of liking some aspect of somebody, or the way they, that person is a really great person because they tell me how wonderful I am. So we see that person, we seek that out, we listen for that, we look for that to confirm that perception of who we think they are. So we live in this constantly evolving world of our particular underlying tendencies controlling our attention, and we see what we want to see based on these past experiences, for better, for worse. But rarely do we actually see somebody in their completeness, or some event that's happening in the world. In our experience, rarely do we see it from a very completely balanced perspective, seeing things for just what they are through our own frame of reference based on our conditioning. So I've been really watching that experience and trying to catch that as it's happening. As soon as I have a thought about someone in one direction or another, trying to trigger this recognition of, is asking this question, oh, is this confirmation bias again? Am I launching into a story or an opinion or a view or an experience in my mind based on some sort of past conditioning that maybe isn't so relevant at this time? It's a way to lock ourselves into a sense of security, even if it's inaccurate, because we all like to have this sense of continuity, this sense of that things are stable and that our perceptions are stable too. But it's most of the time it seems like we're wrong. I was kind of amusing today about this as I was thinking about it, and I was finding confirmation bias happening just about in everything. And then I started to wonder, I'm wondering if I'm using confirmation bias to experience confirmation bias, finding confirmation bias everywhere because I'm looking for it. But nevertheless, it's a very potent reflection. And to stop ourselves, if we can, when we find ourselves doing that, hold on a second, stop that. That's just a memory. That's just a past experience. That's creating a whole world that I don't need to create. We can even do that with our Dhamma practice, I think, in the world of understanding, getting to understand the teachings and how to apply them in our spiritual quest. We can, if we have a very strong interest and bent towards understanding, getting to know the teachings on a level of the intellect, understanding them conceptually and studying them and getting to know them, then we start to develop this template of what practice is, what meditation means, where it can take us. And that's obviously a route that we have to spend some time with to get to know what the teachings are all about and where they lead us and how to use them. If we really tend to keep it on that level, we can also get into that kind of confirmation bias when we sit down and practice some meditation or just contemplate the teachings in relation to our own in relation to our own practice. We start to evaluate our experience with the practice in terms of that conceptual understanding. And we end up making determinations and establishing views and opinions about where we are on the path based on that kind of conceptual understanding. And so Yeah, a classic example of that would be reading the teachings on, say, what jhanas are, all the descriptions of the jhanas and their factors, and say the qualities of first jhana being vitaka, vichara, thinking and consideration, piti, sukha, the pleasure, rapture and pleasure experience, ekaggata, single-pointed, single-minded concentration, and when we have a meditation experience, when we go through a meditation session, and we can evaluate, do a self-evaluation of like, okay, well, let's see, I had a little bit of thinking or considering, or I put my mind on a certain object, lifted it and placed it and considered it on the breathing. I was feeling some sort of pleasure in the body and excitement about it, and I was pretty focused on it, and I stayed with it. So is that first jhana? Maybe I was in first jhana. So you've got this conceptual understanding and some experience, and then you've all of a sudden defined your meditative experience with this hope that maybe I've experienced first jhana or second, third, fourth jhana, something like that, or the realm of am I a stream enterer? Those kinds of machinations of the mind that it's easy to get into based on some sort of wanting to know where we are, wanting to have some sort of sense of security, encouragement in the path by defining ourselves along what we conceptually understand. So in a sense, we've got this perception of what it is, and we start to look for proof that perhaps we are experiencing that, and have a label for it, and make a sense of security around that, reassurance. So we have to be careful, even in our practice, to just not get so complicated, not be up so much in our heads with trying to analyze things, but just to keep going back to the practice in a very simple way, just applying the mindfulness and recollection of a particular theme that we're contemplating, and then just being content with that without having to try and conceptualize, without having to try analyze and place ourselves in some sort of relationship to it. Just to let that process die back and stop. We don't have to do that. So with this process, this citta sankhara, the perceptions and feelings that we experience, we can make those a subject for recollection, for seeing how they operate, and seeing how we can use that concept of perception to see more clearly, so that we aren't following our biases for our tendencies, the patterns of perception, when they're controlled by those underlying tendencies. But as we start to get a handle on those, then we'll start to see more clearly, and maybe start to have that experience of clear comprehension, or that wonderful and marvelous quality of the Tathagata that has this ability to see these perceptions and feelings and thoughts just within the lens of Dhamma, from the lens of Dhamma, as they arise, as they persist, and as they pass away. And that way we're seeing them not from a biased view that's controlled by those underlying tendencies, but from this quality of clear comprehension, sampajanya. And in that way, we start to not be controlled by them as much, and to just see them as conditions that are arising from past karma, and not proliferating on them, not moving into that realm of unwise attention and papancha that will take over our lives. So this is moving our satipatthana practice, using the body as a basis, always returning to that, to have a sense of groundedness and a strong, solid, present moment reference place within the body, and then allowing ourselves to start to branch out into the way that feelings affect us, talked about last night, and how we're moving always towards pleasure, moving away from pain, being confused by everything else, and then exploring the world of perceptions and how we live through those in a necessary way, creating a meaningful way of moving through the world, but also being overwhelmed when they get out of control and when they're motivated by and controlled by these underlying tendencies that we have towards wanting, aversion, and confusion. Learning how to slow down that process so that we don't get trapped in this realm of continuing to reinforce these patterns over and over and over again. It's what we're here to start to see clearly through our slowing down the mind, slowing down our reactivity, slowing down our actions in the world, simplifying our lives so that we can start to experience these processes more clearly and not get so entangled with them, to be able to see them just for what they are and release them and not get entangled with them in the usual ways. So this is the potential of this starting to move into the examination of the citta sankhara and then eventually the qualities of mind itself, and seeing where that will take us in our contemplations and in our quest for realizing the end of dukkha. So I'll just leave that for a few reflections tonight.